Hi, we're in the mess, and welcome to a slightly different type of video we're going to do for you tonight. We're going to also have this video available not just on YouTube, but also as a podcast. Quite new for us, we're quite excited about it. Please let us know what you think, and please drop us a like and a subscribe if you're a fan, or if you're not a fan, please let us know and don't be mad at us. Thanks. Anyway, why don't we all start by introducing ourselves? My name's Tim. I'm an orthopaedic registrar to trade. You guys?
I'm Martin. I'm one of the vascular clinical teaching fellows.
I'm Charles. I'm an anaesthetics registrar.
And what are we doing today?
We're hopefully going to give some pointers to the new FY doctors starting on Wednesday.
Yeah. Hashtag tips for new docs.
Yeah, first day in doctoring. So we're going to keep this quite casual. We're just gonna chat. We've all done this for a couple of years now, but not a million years. So we like to think we can still remember what our first day is. So I've written down a few questions. Shall we see what we think of the answers? So let's start with how you guys how your career started, I suppose. So Martin, do you want to start? Where did you go to uni, and where did you start as an FY1?
So I went to uni at St George's and then in London, and then left London 6 years ago, came out for FY1 and haven't been back since. I've had a bit of a roundabout way of getting into surgical training. Took 2 clinical fellow years to get where I am, but enjoyed every minute of it.
Just to clarify, we're actually up in the north of Scotland, which we haven't mentioned yet. That's where we're all based. So Martin's a long way from home, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Charles, how about yourself?
Born and bred medically in Aberdeen, university, foundation, with some trips to the Highlands, as is customary for foundation here. And then most of the time based in ARI.
Yeah, and you're an anaesthetic registrar now, aren't you? Nearly finished. Crazy.
Final year as a trainee this year.
He's the old one.
I'm the old guy. Well, although I'm actually younger than Martin. Just medically. Am I not?
No, you're not.
Within a few months.
You're 2 months older than me, so you're still older.
Within a few months.
We can all agree that
more
I
or
am
less the same age as Martin.
Yeah, and I am the fetus here.
Just medically decrepit.
Yeah, and quickly for me, I'm really boring. I went to university in Aberdeen. I did FY in Aberdeen, and now I did orthopaedic training in Aberdeen. So here's me. So Charles, what was your FY1 job? What was it like?
First one was geriatrics, and it was good in that it was acute, and it's good in that geriatrics is probably as general as medicine can be.
Yeah.
So you got exposure to an awful lot of different presentations, albeit all within the context of frailty, and I think that's the thing that got me a bit nervous, was that like everybody's very frail. It's very easy to get a drug dose wrong in the elderly, and I think I was quite worried about that.
You focused on like the finer, not about the whole doctoring thing.
Yeah,
I'm going to make a small error, and it's going to.
It was like tiny margin of error kind of fear. But I guess like you'll have that in every specialty, won't you? Like, and you'll be worried that people will be really sick, or you'll be worried that things will be really complicated. But for me, I was worried that the margin of error was really small. But I loved it, actually. I think it's really easy to tell yourself that you're going to do badly and that you're going to be put in compromising situations, but what you really quickly realise is that everybody knows you know nothing.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah. You are brand new.
You're fresh off the block. You have book knowledge, but you haven't seen it in practice, and everyone knows that. And I think it took probably 3 or 4 weeks to realise that.
Yeah.
But once you actually realised that it was okay to be following orders, got a lot more straightforward.
I think mine was exactly the same. I mean, it was general surgery, but I walked in thinking, oh no, I'm going to be single-handedly expected to manage peritonitis, and it's not that, is it?
No.
You do quite more clinical stuff than you can ever believe, but your hand is well and truly held, isn't it? And I think all of us now that we're in a registrar role would definitely say, call us if you're feeling like you're out of your depth. Like, I think it's probably quite important to get that in early,
and
right?
actually probably like call us if you're in your depth, because we like to know either way.
Yeah.
Like, because it's part of your job as a registrar is knowing what everyone's up to so that you can plan your day around how much time you need to go back and help.
100%. And I think that's going to be a theme through this. Isn't it?
Actually, boss, all is well.
Yeah.
Anything else I need to be doing because we're up to date with the jobs book is a brilliant call. That's a lovely call to get.
Yeah. And Martin, what was your first job?
So I started probably the most protected area of medicine. I started on intensive care, where there are lots of senior staff, and you're not really trusted to do anything because, as we've already said, you don't really know very much, and you're looking after the sickest patients in the hospital. So I learned a lot about going and seeing referrals with the on-call registrar, learned a lot about assessing patients, but it was the out of hours on calls that I did in the evenings covering medical wards that I hadn't been on during the day that I found the most challenging. Not getting up to speed with how to do ward jobs, how the wards work, and then being thrown on for a 6 till 9 shift. That was quite intimidating. But again, nursing staff keep you right, and there's always a registrar that you can phone and ask for advice. So that's how you got through, really.
So I think it's fair to say that no one's going to expect a first brand new week FY1 to be able to manage ventilator settings, keep someone sedated and paralysed, right?
Yeah, so as token anaesthetist, when you start as a core trainee in anaesthesia, having done foundation, they expect you to know nothing about anything. So there are some areas of the hospital where your hand will be held, and there are others like ICU and anaesthesia where you will be literally directly supervised every minute of the day. And you'll very quickly get to know in your first week where on the spectrum you are, but it is a spectrum from directly holding the hand of somebody the whole time through to checking in every couple of hours. You know, there's no...
Yeah, I mean,
there should be no island.
I would argue that my job, and within the trauma setting, is probably the other extreme. The FY1s are within our unit. With one FY2 supervising, the foundation doctors, I guess I should say, are the only ones on the ward. As where elsewhere we like to think we're hugely contactable, but we may be 5 minutes away at, or elsewhere, at a push, if things were really, really kicking off. But, it doesn't mean we don't want to know. It's just that we're not there.
And what would your advice be to your juniors if you are stuck in theatre? So we're both surgical registrars. I'm sure that's probably something you're going to cover later, is what happens if your reg is stuck in theatre and you can't phone them for advice? What do you want your FY1s to be doing in that situation?
So I think I want them to... There will always... First thing to say is there's always going to be an on-call registrar or someone who is not in theatre. And we would feel much more comfortable, even if it's not necessarily our remit of work that day, if to know about a problem, than have in our heads that there's an FY1 somewhere in our ward struggling out of their depth, feeling like they're stuck. So I think anyone within healthcare, senior nurses especially as well, let's not forget them, and any form of allied healthcare professionals, the PAs, the nurse practitioners, they're all about to help. And yes, the registrar, the named registrar for that patient, if you're working a firm base like a lot of the surgical specialties do, may be in theatre, but if it is a question that cannot wait, there will be people about to help. And make sure you know who that is, I guess would be my sort of rule for life here is, know who's about. Are you on course today? Yes. Okay. Do you mind if I call you if I'm stuck? You can appreciate this is my first week. Nobody will say no to that, right?
Yeah. Totally.
So yes, the main registrar that you want to speak to specifically may be in theatre, but most questions can wait an hour and a half. But if you're someone who's crushingly unwell, find someone else. We'll all help. So I guess everyone always says that you learn more during the first week as an FY1 than you do throughout the entirety of medical school, though, I guess. So bear that in mind. Your learning curve is going to come on leaps and bounds. Next question, 2 of 3. How did you cope from the student life, working when works for you, Monday to Friday, weekends off, to shift work? Any tips for that?
It's something that you need to get used to. Foundation is the first time that it's been mandatory that you're there literally every minute that you're on a rota or that you're on a timetable, and people handle it differently. Give yourself recovery days. So like if you're on a stretch, don't plan anything for like your first day at the end of that stretch. If you're on for a week and you have your 0 day, don't sign up to anything. You're gonna need to sleep in.
The reason they're called 0 hours days, to give you your rest back.
There are no usable hours in those days, and like foundation is a lot better than it used to be. And even in the relatively short time that I've been qualified, things have got better. You know, we don't have 12-hour days in a row anymore, but it is still exhausting. And if you're at the end of a week, just don't forget that you're now working for a living and that it's a bit different to being a student, and that you'll feel the weight of the fact that you've made decisions, even if they're quite low-level clinical decisions in the context of the team. You need to build up your resilience to match the level of responsibility that you're taking, and so that will actually impact a little bit on how fatigued you are. It's not just that you've been out for 12 hours, it's that you're thinking the whole time, and that you're on your feet, and that you're hungry, and so just let yourself take it easy. FY1 is about learning the basics and getting through it. You don't want to be taking on more than you can chew.
So, eat, drink, sleep, see the outside world, and talk to people. You know, if you've had a bad day, you know, some people, you know, will want to have a chat about it. You know, that may be your colleagues, that may be your mum, you know, whoever works for you, I guess. Like, have a debrief of some form, and try and have a day off from something work related every week.
And on that note of looking after yourself and taking time off after you finish your shifts, it's also really important to make sure you do take your breaks, make sure that you do finish on time. And as you said earlier, Tim, stuff can wait. And if someone's asking you to do a discharge letter and it's 4:00 in the afternoon, you haven't had your lunch and you haven't been to the toilet, you haven't had anything to drink, actually at that moment you've got to say either I need to go and have a break now, and you shouldn't be staying late for those things either. You've got to look after yourself. It's a long career, and it's an adjustment getting used to FY1. You'll have pressures from different people telling you to do different things.
Absolutely.
I would say make it a priority to get to know the people on your rota, because you're actually going to have each other's backs, and you're only there for 4 months at a time, but you'll make friendships that are disproportionately intense for how long you've known those people, because you've gone through that together. And you'll lean on these people to cover for you if you need to go and do something. You'll lean on these people to let you go for a break if you haven't had a pee for 7 hours. And just bear in mind that they're all there together. And I guess with that in mind as well, if people are grumpy or people treat you not very well or people seem to be a bit sharp, especially if it's like one of your seniors and you don't really know how to interpret that. Like the temptation, I think, when you're very junior and new to a role is to assume that it's because you've messed up or that you're not very useful or that you've got something wrong or you don't fit in. Actually, everybody's getting used to a really new way of life. Everyone's handling a new level of responsibility. And some people find that really hard. So just kind of assume the best of the people that are around you. Presume if you're mistreated that it's because of their day, not your day, or the way that you've interacted with their day. And if you give each other the benefit of the doubt, then actually the whole thing gets a lot more pleasant. And things like eating and peeing and going home on time become dead straightforward because it's everybody's effort to get everyone home.
So we've spent a little bit of time talking about the bad stuff there. You know, we've obviously got to warn folk about that, but I mean, I'll speak for myself, and I imagine you guys are the same. I had a brilliant time as an FY actually overall. You know, I learned so much. I definitely grew as a person. It was the first time I'd had a proper job that wasn't just a holiday job. You know, manage all the bills, all the income. I felt like a proper adult. It was like my entrance, a bit cheesy this, but my entrance into the world as a self-sufficient person. And you know, I loved it. Like it was wonderful. And you're right. You form friendships and relationships with people that, you know, from the most unlikely places, you know, and it's just great. So I think it's amazing, you know. Any last bits of advice?
I think from my point of view, slightly different from you guys who came into doing FY1 in Aberdeen, having studied here. I came from London to go and do my FY1 in Inverness, not knowing a single soul. And that was quite intimidating, but actually, if you just throw yourself into it, you get to know your colleagues, and we had just the best time because most people in Inverness didn't know each other. So we just built a big group of friends that got on really well. And I'd say if you're worried about moving somewhere that you haven't been before, or maybe you didn't get the job that you wanted, make the most of it because you will have a great time, particularly in some of the smaller cities.
Definitely. And if you get a remote and rural option and you think that that's going to be a curveball, don't worry about that, because you learn some of the best stuff in the small hospitals where people know you. It's a smaller team, there's less rotational stuff going on. Consultants get to know you, registrars get to know you, and they'll let you do stuff that you wouldn't do in a bigger, busier hospital that didn't have quite as much time to teach and train. And I would say just to make it a priority to at least a couple of times try and socialise with the people on your rota. Whoever's not in, go and have a night out, get to know them, and you'll trust each other, and you'll have a whale of a time, and you'll feel a lot more connected. It makes a huge difference. It's a really nice year in that you get protected in your transition into holding responsibility. Like, nobody expects the FY1 to make the final decision anywhere in the United Kingdom, and there's that universal acceptance. And so, as scary as it feels to make the jump, everybody knows what you've come from, and therefore everyone knows that you're new, and therefore it's a chance to kind of retain a bit of that ability to socialise and meet new people and try new places, but you'll learn at a really, really rapid rate, and all the more so if you've integrated as best as you can with your team.
So, as a final thing, I'd just like to say again, any problems, please call us.
Yeah.
And I think that's all we'd like to say. So thanks very much, guys, for joining this. It's a new exciting venture for In the Mess. I have to say, I really enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was good fun.
People who are local to us, wave us in the corridor, have a chat. We'll happily help you in any way we can. If you're not so local to us, drop a comment. We'll happily answer any questions you've got. And like and subscribe so you never miss a thing.